So I am very excited about this. I'll be turning my office, or at least a couple walls of my office, into Castle Grayskull. And I kind of thought that that would be a fun project to show you guys as I do this little bit of paint work. Obviously, this kind of set stonework could take place inside of a haunted house somewhere. Doesn't have to be green, can be any color. I would love to do this somewhere like a crypt with blue or purple stones. The process that I'm using right now is called a scumble. And I have 3 different colors that I'm rotating between. And you saw me put them on the wall there, kind of blotchy. And I sprayed the wall down with a little bit of water first. Just a mist of water to help the paint slide a little easier. And I put it on a little blotchy. I'm going to do the top band now. So you can see I'm doing some dark green. And I'm not too worried about filling every single spot because I'm going to spread it around quite a bit. And I have a dark green, like a gray green, and a real light green. You kind of want 3 colors that are in the same family, but contrast. And you can do 2 colors, you can do 3 colors, you can do 6 colors. It all depends on the outcome that you want. But you can see that I'm misting it with water, and I'm kind of doing this in sections. And I am putting a bit of overlap there. That way I can blend them in, and it's going to look like all one big scumble piece. What was that little thing in the corner? I have no idea. So I left this video a little bit long because I wanted you guys to see the process. I think the other time I did a stone wall, it was like a 5-minute video. All right, and here you can see the process a little closer. I had Robert Alcala work the camera for me. So you see me just mist it with water. Then I go get my paint. And now my body's not blocking anything that I'm doing. I'm running it all the way out to the edge. And I'm doing several different patches of this dark green color. And notice how I am blending it in with the last piece. And now I'm going to grab my next color. What did I use here? I think it's the light green. And I'm using the same brush for all of these. I'm going to mix it all together anyway, so I don't think it's a terrible thing to have the paintbrush be a little dirty each time you dip it in. There you got a little view of all my different colors. I have a black that I'm going to do the mortar work with later to make the individual bricks. I really like this method of doing stone because all of your stones are a little bit different in color. They have a great background contrast. And I think painting your mortar first is kind of a terrible way to do it because then you have to worry about painting inside the lines. So once I had all those colors on, I was able to just mist with water again, and that helps my wet blending a little bit. I want these all to kind of blend into each other. Any real hard brush strokes, I'm going to feather out. See how I'm feathering that out? And it all just kind of merges and blends together. I'm not super worried about it because even if there are long strokes or brush marks, the brick lines, the mortar lines, they're going to, cover it up. Okay, and that's a step back and take a look, and I see what's missing, what needs what. And I kind of decided from that look I needed more of that light green. That kind of area felt a little devoid of it. So I just rectified the situation by adding a little bit of that light green and blending it in. Never forget to take a step back from your work every now and then and look at what you're doing. It's often a very different perspective when you're right up on top of it than if you back up 10 feet, 20 feet. And don't forget your lighting conditions. I know this is my office, so this is going to be seen in normal lighting. I'm going for a pretty kind of harsh, strong graphic novel look with this. And the colors of Castle Grayskull are pretty iconic. I don't know of any other green stone castle, aside from the Dungeons and Dragons playset from those action figures as a kid. It looked like a big old snake. So we're blending this together. And we're just kind of doctoring it. I think this whole thing is sped up about 8 times. And you wait for that to dry. Now I can go in with my mortar work, but I had to wait for that to dry. So I have a yardstick up there so that I can mark 18 inches down, and I'll explain why later on, but I wanted that first row of stone to be 18 inches deep. And then it's a matter of putting in all the stones that are roughly the same size, but using a lot of different shapes. One thing that you don't want to do is start on one side with really small stones and say, this is going to take forever. And then as you work over towards the other side, your stones get bigger. I've done that before, so that's not a lesson I intend to learn again. And you can always add fun things into your stonework. Sometimes I'll put little red eyes or rat heads in the big mortar crevices. And I want you to notice that as I go to these bricks and as I paint them in, I'm not allowing like real hard corners on the stone. I will go in with the paintbrush and I will round off those corners so that those stones look a little worn, a little more old. See how I rounded off that last rock I put on? I don't want them to have super hard, crisp corners. That, to me, reads like a brand new stone wall. I don't want that. And this looks pretty basic right now, but it's kind of coming together. And here, obviously, I'm working on the floor, which you can't see anything. I will tell myself words of encouragement. You can do it. For this video, I only did this one wall, but I will be doing, at least in part, the 2 walls on the sides of this. Obviously, I like it. And now this is a color, this is it's just a character color. This is kind of like a blue jade type of color, like a teal jade kind of thing. And I'm not dry brushing this, I'm kind of smudging it on. I put it on in one spot and then I run the brush until it runs out of paint. And then I put on more paint, I start on different stone. So it's just giving the rocks more character than they have on their own. The Scumble is great, but it doesn't have a huge amount of contrast because of how much we blended it. And I think doing this really helps the stones, no matter what color or colors you're using. You can see that it's kind of giving them a bit of a life. And every time that I get off the ladder, I'm backing up about 10-15 feet and I'm taking a look at it. You could see I made one like really blue-green stone over on the right to see if I liked it. I didn't, but the wall is big enough, it's going to kind of be absorbed in, and I don't have to worry about it standing out like a sore thumb because it is part of a whole. Do not forget that it is part of a whole. I am subterranean right now. This is the part of the video where I say, support us on Patreon. It allows us to do cooler, better, bigger things. We do pretty much a giveaway a month. I also post thoughts of the day on Patreon. I'm really enjoying interacting with that community, so hopefully you guys can join us on Patreon. At least, if you like the video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, leave a comment. I really hate doing that. But I do love highlighting stones. So I have picked the direction that I want the light to come from, and I have picked my highlighting color. It's not just white, it is a much lighter version, so this is a very bright yellow-green. What is that thing in the corner? So I am highlighting each stone, and there's a couple little rules to remember, and Real Alan is going to come on and tell them to you in just a second.
So I want you to notice that I am making the highlights on this side of the wall thinner, and they get thicker as they go this way. And they'll get thicker as they go up towards that top corner, because that over there somewhere is where I've decided the light source is on this wall. I'm painting the light source in because these rocks don't have 3 dimensions. I have to paint it.
To reiterate, the highlight is what makes the rocks look 3D. And hopefully you can see that. That's what's making them pop. And the further away I am from the light source, the thinner I'm making that highlight. As I get closer to the light source, the brighter and wider I'm making that highlight. So, that tells you where that light source is. Also, the edges. The edges of the stone, how thick that is, that kind of gives you an idea of the depth of the stone and the angle. Okay, so here we are again. And I did leave this long because I wanted you guys to see a lot of this process. Of course, you can watch it on 2x and speed it up even more, or just jump to the end. But this way, the people who really want to see the process, and you guys can really kind of see the rocks coming out now. I'm very happy with them. Hopefully that beast man who keeps popping up will give us his seal of approval. Oh, he likes it.
One day cleanup, because I'm going to be using these tomorrow to finish off these 2 walls. And I'm going to bag all the brushes. Rained recently, pretty humid here, they won't dry out. I'll bag all the brushes, everything has lids, and it'll be good to go for tomorrow. Okay, so this is the new wall behind my desk. This is obviously, it's kind of a Castle Grayskull type of stone rock feel. Another feature of the wall, if you notice, there's a line that runs right up top. That is 18 inches below the ceiling. And I'm actually going to have a shelf there with some of my masks and things on it. So I did plan my shelving kind of into what that background rock is going to look like. I've done rock and stone painting before. If you get close, this looks rough. There's so much of this wall, and it's so nicely, brightly colored that you don't take in each individual stone and say, well, you look at the wall as a whole, and you can see I thought about my light source. So I have my light source coming from there, and the highlights get thinner on this side of the wall, and their angle changes just a little bit as each stone gets light from that differently. This will be a fun ongoing project, but I thought these cyclopean rocks of a different size, they're not all the same size stone, would be very nice as a little instructional. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Go make stuff, and don't take yourself too seriously.
Here's to you, Patreon supporters. Real heroes of still feed. Can't tell you how much I appreciate how you keep our shelves stocked with caulk. I better enunciate. And supplies in the first aid kit. I frickin' burned myself. You guys are awesome. Really, really thank you.